Welcome to Nothing But That People Talk podcast. Your eyes do not deceive you. We're back after like a few months because we've been like busy doing what we got.
School life.
Yeah, it's just grad school life, post-grad school life. Everything is just
life.
We're just there's a lot going on. But we back now talking about nothing but basketball news, stats, and everything from college to the pros. But let's just get into it. We've seen some amazing basketball the first few months of the NBA season and college basketball season.
Yes.
Like literally.
Yes.
And we got started off with a guy who might change the whole landscape of the NBA once LeBron James retires. The name is Zion Williamson. No, seriously. Did you see how he steamrolled Albany? You see how he gave Gonzaga fits? Do you not see the statistics that this kid put up?
The verticals, physicality that he brings to the game.
Mm-hmm. And the work he put in Madison Square Garden against Texas Tech? Nah. Zion Williamson is changing the landscape of the NBA. Once he gets into the NBA, Stephen Curry will not hit that many threes.
Why? Why do you say that?
5 blocks. He had 5 blocks in the game against five blocks against Army. Seriously.
Oh, he stomped out the Army.
You remember that game?
Oh, yeah. I saw some of that.
I was watching that game. Knox was telling me about this guy, Zion Williamson, and everybody on ESPN was riding his coattail. Right now, Zion Williamson is a monster. And I guarantee you, any one of these first 5 teams in the NBA, which we'll talk about later in the podcast, they will change their franchise forever. What do you guys think?
Zion Williamson. I worry about him. I worry about him because here's my thing, right? So first off, he's amazing, he's talented, he's athletic, he's everything. Everybody, he's worth the hype. Very few players are worth the hype. He is absolutely worth the hype. But here's why I question: college basketball and NBA basketball are almost like 2 totally different sports right now. He is dominating because he's faster, he's stronger, he's physically bigger than everybody he's going against on a night-to-night basis. That doesn't happen in the NBA. Once he gets into the NBA, he's not going to be bigger, stronger, and faster than every single person he plays against. So at that point in time, it just becomes unique to the player. Will Zion Williamson develop the actual basketball skills necessary to become that dominant of a player? Is he going to put the time in to get a jump shot? Is he going to put the time in to become a better rebounder? Is he going to put the time in to add a different wrinkle to his game, whether it's passing or help defense or something like that? That's what will transcend him to that next level. He is as raw a talent as we've ever seen. But because he's raw, he has the potential to mold into something really great. I don't like the LeBron comparison because they don't play anything alike. They're not similar at all. They're really not. But also, one thing he's going to have potentially going against him is he's only 6'7". He's not 6'9", he's not 6'10". He's only 6'7". So he's 6'7", he's kind of a 3-4. But most 3s and 4s now are 6'8", 6'9". I mean, Paul George is about 6'9". Kawhi Leonard is 6'7". Giannis plays between 3, 4, and 5. He's basically 7 feet tall. KD is 7 feet tall. So that height advantage is going to be ruled out. Athleticism is going to be not on par because very few guys in the league are as athletic as he is. But I worry about him. I think you definitely have to roll the dice on him. I think he has the highest ceiling. He also has the highest bust potential as a draft.
I'll say this too. One thing you got to take into consideration: it's only been a month and a half of college basketball that's been going on.
Actually, 2 months.
2 months. Yeah, about 2 months of college basketball. So I'd like to see how he transitions his game once adversaries and teams are starting to notice and pick up on the scouting report what his tendencies are like.
Yeah.
Because from there we could see what is his head like in a full season of basketball. Is he heads up enough to realize I need to change the game a little bit? I need to adjust my strategy. I want to see that before I can get like a really accurate assessment for what his potential is. Because if he's going to stick to the same tricks the second half of the college basketball season, when the tournament comes around, and he's not really shown to be that dynamic, I think you got to have some question marks with him.
I think regardless of what happens, he's going to be #1 pick. I think teams...
Oh, totally.
That's not a
question.
Yeah, he's going to be #1 pick. But I think you're absolutely right. If you think back, not last season, but 2 seasons ago, Jason Tatum, when he was at Duke and he started off the first half of the season, he was playing kind of modest. And I think he started seeing the game in a different light. I can't think about exactly what it was that he changed, but I remember the second half of the season, he really started to assert himself and really started to add more wrinkles to his game, more aspects to his game. And that translated to him getting a higher draft pick, being drafted higher. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm curious to see if Zion Williamson does a similar thing like Jason Tatum. They went to the same school. They both played the 3-4. at Duke, so it's possible.
And you saw how that mentality lifted him up in the playoffs, the conference finals. You saw he stepped up to the occasion.
Yeah, so
you need to see that.
So the question is he going to be more along the lines of Jason Tatum or more along the lines of Jabari Parker? We're hoping he's more along the lines of Jason Tatum than Jabari Parker.
Exactly, because Jason Tatum brought the lockdown defender that literally gave LeBron James a run for his money in his first playoff appearance.
Yeah, Jason Tatum is a talented guy, and you're right. He was not touted for being this great defender, but he played really good defense against LeBron, as good as you could possibly play at 19-20. So yeah, like I said before, the question is Zion going to be more along the lines of Jason Tatum, or is he going to be more along the lines of Jabari Parker? We're hoping he's more along the lines of Jason Tatum.
That's going to be determined as we roll on the season and in conference play. Right. And let's not forget, he's playing for the same Duke that won a lot of championships and brought out a lot of legends. Chris Duhon. I could go on and on and on about it, but
big shout out to Chris Duhon.
He's a good college player.
Like, I could go on and on and on about the legends that came out of Duke. And you're being coached by Mike Krzyzewski, who has a history of coaching Duke basketball.
But here's what I'm gonna say about Mike Krzyzewski, and here's what I'm gonna say about Duke. Krzyzewski's really good at making really good college players. Exactly. Not necessarily NBA players. He's had guys, when I say that, like Chris Duhon's an excellent college player, Daniel Ewing was an excellent college player, JJ Redick is a great college player, Jason Williams was a great college player. Not all those guys translated to be superstars. Outside of Grant Hill, Elton Brand was a fringe superstar, injuries kind of cut him short. Most of the guys he builds, they're fundamentally sound, they're good long-term NBA prospects, but superstars, not too many superstars came from Duke. You know,
but they did manage to get championships.
They do. They manage to get, because I think he instills great fundamental skills in his players, and I think because he carries his program with such professionalism, these guys don't usually have character issues. Most guys who go to Duke are heads up. You don't have to worry about them.
They have long careers.
They have long careers. So I do think he's going to stay in the league. And also, let's not forget, while Cam Reddish has been struggling lately, RJ Barrett also has kind of been struggling, but those three guys are potentially looking at being 1, 2, and 3, or all three in the top 5 in terms of lottery picks. So I want to ask you guys, where do you see RJ Barrett? I think Zion shows you, number one, he's without question the number 1 overall pick. RJ Barrett sometimes fluctuates. He has some really strong games. He has some other games where it seems like he's pushing it too much and he's trying to do way too much. He kind of has like a James Harden approach to his game, and only James Harden can play like James Harden. Let's establish that. So when you see guys kind of mimicking that, you're like, that's not really going to work for you. So I'm curious to see what happens with him. I think he could potentially go number 2, but also he has a bit of a bust factor to him too. I'm not sure if he dominates the NBA like he does in college.
What's his shooting tendencies like?
He's not a particularly great shooter. No, he's ball dominant and he's dominant. Like he hasn't shown the ability to score off the dribble, off ball. He's only shown the ability to orchestrate and keep the ball in his hands at all times, which is fine. But if we're starting to see in the NBA, that ball dominant play, with exception of James Harden, doesn't work.
Yeah, and I can see a young guy in the NBA being ball dominant and being with the wrong coach and be like, "Yo, you can't work here.
You can't." And
keeping him in the doghouse for like a season
I mean,
or 2.
you know, the league has progressed so much. You know, Carmelo's not in the league no more. You can't be a ball hog. You can't be a ball dominant player without having another wrinkle to your game. Honestly, what makes James Harden so good is he's a willing passer and he's an excellent passer.
He's an all-around player.
He's an all-around player. Listen, not to go too up, James Harden, for all of his shortcomings, offensively,
man, second to none right now.
Exactly.
He led his team back to like I think 5th or 6th in the Western Conference.
They were to rights a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and the only reason why they got so good is because they got rid of Carmelo Anthony, the biggest
don't say that.
They got
salty Knicks fans. Salty Knicks fans.
Carmelo Anthony made the Rockets at their worst, and when they cut Carmelo Anthony, look where they're at right now.
I know about
three. We're talking about the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets got themselves together. Look at their win against the Pelicans last night.
Right, another 40-point game for James Harden.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. He's probably gonna take the MVP again.
Yeah, well, if they finish in the top 3, he should, and this should be his 3rd or 4th. I don't know why they didn't give it to him all those years before. But that's not fair to blame it on Melo. It's not. And unfortunately, the thing with what makes it so easy to blame Melo is his style of play. If he's not playing at a high level, is totally detrimental to your team, which is true. But to say that they're winning because they got rid of him, I can't agree with that.
No, I mean, they had a lot of problems to start off the season. I mean, the Pelicans saw them come in that first game, right? They had Chris Paul. Did he get suspended in that brouhaha.
Yeah, a couple games.
Yeah, with the Lakers.
Yeah, he got suspended for that. Then plus, like, once, I don't know, you come into the season different when you blow a Game 7 like that. You're not gonna come in guns blazing like, yo, this our season, this is here,
and
we're here now.
Players.
And they lost players, you know what I'm saying? So I think it was really difficult for them in the beginning to figure it out. But to use Melo as a scapegoat, I know 3 or 4 podcasts ago I was very critical about Carmelo Anthony. But I'm not going to sit here and say, like, he's been the problem for everything Houston has had in those last, like, 5
He's not,
games.
and also, let's also look at it like this, though. They should have signed him in the first place. He was not a good fit for their team. He's never worked well with Mike D'Antoni.
That's true.
He's never worked well with him. When they signed him, I was like, what were they thinking? He doesn't fit in there.
And the funny thing is, Mike D'Antoni's coaching Houston Rockets. And you saw how they clicked the last time Melo and Mike D'Antoni clicked.
It didn't work out at all.
Right now, you got him coming off the bench for 10 games, and then they just released him like that.
And he still has not been picked up by a team.
Man.
What is up with that?
He's obsolete.
I don't know.
He's obsolete. Listen, I'm gonna give you a Carmelo Anthony is an obsolete player in the modern NBA. So is Greg Monroe. So is Jahlil Okafor. And those type of players, if you cannot add something to your game that we don't have already scouted. So if you're a scorer and you don't have the wrinkle of being a good passer or a good rebounder, you can't be one-dimensional. This isn't the 1990s with the Knicks and the Heat where I have a guy who just goes out there and rebounds, or I have a guy who just goes out there and hits open shots. The NBA, you can't survive like that. You have to be a multi-dimensional player. Right. You have to do at least 2 things really well and a third thing potentially well. You can't be one-dimensional. You can't. Like Jahlil Okafor is not a bust because he can't play. He's a bust because he can't play in the modern NBA.
And he can't defend for his life.
He can score down low, but he can't defend, he can't pass, he can't stretch the floor. So he's obsolete.
Look at Chicago. Honestly, they got a bunch of guys.
Honestly, I don't even know how Jahlil Okafor got in the top 3 in his NBA draft class.
He got in the top 3 because he has talent, but his talent doesn't translate to the NBA. Like when Porzingis, okay, so look at his contemporaries, right? That's Porzingis and Karl-Anthony Towns. Towns is probably the best 3-point shooter on the Timberwolves, right? Yeah. Porzingis is an outstanding 3-point shooter for his size. Porzingis can put the ball down. He can start his offense from the top of the key and work his way in. Or he can start his offense from the post and work his way out. Okafor can only post up. That's all he can do. Does he do it well? Yeah, but in this day and age, if you're not stretching the floor and spacing out, you're not helping me in any type of way. You're obsolete. The reason why Greg Monroe gets no burn, he's obsolete. At this point in time, he's not athletic. He's not a particularly great rebounder. He's not a particularly great shot blocker. Look at Valanciunas is more athletic than him. He's a better rebounder than her. He's a better rebounder than him. He finishes at the basket better. You look at Ibaka. Ibaka stretches the floor. He rebounds. He defends. You can't be a one-dimensional player in 2018 basketball.
Yeah, you really can't. And you mentioned Serge Ibaka. You mentioned Valanciunas. And I guess that means you have to lead to the Toronto Raptors, who are now in the top 2. In the Eastern Conference again. And this time, you don't have to worry about LeBron James until at least the NBA Finals.
Right. And what's very interesting is the fact that they've been able to hold that spot down without Kawhi playing like all this significant minutes.
He's missed like 9 games already.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, automatically rules him out of MVP, right? You can't.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't win MVP if you miss games and your team keeps winning.
Yeah, everybody was complaining about LeBron that one year we missed like.
Yeah, but they lost
games.
all those games.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't qualify him for MVP. He's had a significant impact on his team.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
exactly. Kawhi Leonard is the best 2-way player in the NBA. And matter of fact, if the Raptors were to beat the Golden State Warriors in the finals, he can easily shut these guys down.
He's such a savant defensively. Carl was telling me about that play. I saw that play. He grabbed the ball from his back like he just knew where the ball was headed.
So if you haven't seen the play, you have to YouTube it. It's insane. He's defending his man face-to-face man up. And the guy passes the ball, and he dives backwards and catches it. He basically steals the pass by diving to the ground. I mean, his defense is on a different level, but I don't think right.
The hustle is right there. That's why he was the Finals MVP in 2014.
But I don't know if they go to the finals.
Yeah.
Let's seriously talk about that. Who they lose to?
If Boston ever gets their act together, Boston has the firepower to beat them.
I'm not buying that.
You're really not?
I'm not buying that.
But Boston, they're not really as good as they were last year.
They're not.
I mean, with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward actually playing a full season, unlike last year, they're just subpar. And they're number 15. They could end up in Philadelphia in the first round.
But
they're not going to beat Philadelphia this time around.
Oh, no. They're beating
No, seeding matters. Home court advantage matters.
Okay, so how does Boston... You tell me how Boston beats... You tell me how Philadelphia beats Boston.
Ben Simmons will not have a scoreless game. He's gonna be much improved in this playoffs this time around. They have Jimmy Butler, the guy who's had 2 game-winning shots, 2 game winners.
I give you Jimmy Butler.
That was the biggest pick. You're not big on Jimmy Butler after he had 2 game-winning shots against the Brooklyn Nets and against the Charlotte Hornets, despite the fact that Kemba Walker had a 60-point game that night. Oh my God, Philadelphia, they're gonna be a problem for Boston this time around. Like, seriously, what do you guys think?
Okay, I think Philadelphia puts up a better fight. Ben Simmons can't shoot and doesn't shoot. So going back to my previous statement, granted, he has all the potential in the world. He looks many ways like a hybrid between LeBron and Magic Johnson and Penny Hardaway. But he doesn't shoot the ball, and he can't shoot the ball, which hinders his team. They're basically one man down on offense, and he's not stretching the floor at all. Like, he doesn't take shots.
Not a single,
At this point in time, if you're watching games, teams are literally just standing there waiting for him to pass the ball because they know he's not going to take a jump shot. That's not going to happen against Boston. Everybody in Boston can shoot the ball.
And everybody will shoot.
And they will shoot the ball.
Yeah, literally.
And add to that, Embiid looks all disgruntled now that Jimmy Butler is taking shots from him, which he's wrong
for. Played.
Jimmy Butler?
No, man. Black Cloud, man. You don't want that guy on your team.
He's not.
Jimmy Butler is the best defending point guard in the NBA right now.
Well, I mean, defensively, he's solid. Don't get me wrong. But, like, we've seen this happen with Chicago. We've seen it happen with Minnesota. Like,
it didn't happen in Chicago. He was not causing a problem. Chicago was just one of the worst organizations in the world.
Fact.
And he just traded him.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah,
they just traded him.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
But Minnesota, I mean, it sounds cool when you hear it from Jimmy Butler's perspective. But when you think about it, and where all those guys were younger than him, all those guys, yes, they have wrinkles and they have problems, and it's cool to criticize them in that dimension. But you gotta understand that franchise is horrendous.
That's another bad franchise.
Yeah, like they're only doing the Timberwolves. They were doing the best with what they had. So for Jimmy Butler to just sit there and criticize them all the time, after one season that he played with them, it doesn't look that good. Okay. And who's to say it won't happen again?
Okay, but here's the thing: were his criticisms justified? Were they accurate, spot on? Right? Was he personally going at the players, or was he professionally going at them for not playing harder than they should? Before Jimmy Butler ever got there, the question was: does Andrew Wiggins play hard? Was that not the question before?
He does not.
And the answer is no, he doesn't.
And he's still
we had those questions before Jimmy Butler got here. Then Jimmy Butler gets here, he has the same questions that we have. So he's not wrong for that. I think he went about it as well as you can go about it when you're asking to be traded and not trying to trade you. And I don't think he was wrong for saying, yo, you guys don't play hard. You're making all this money. They're not willing to pay me that same money, but I'm putting in more effort than you're putting in. I don't think in Philadelphia is the same thing. I think in Philadelphia, it's a representation of the generation of players. Like, I can understand if we're going to compare Joel Embiid as potentially all-time great center. We're going to look at we're going to look at guys who were also all-time great centers. Do you think if Jimmy Butler gets traded to the New York Knicks back in the 1990s, Patrick Ewing gets salty?
No, not at all.
Do you think when Clyde Drexler gets traded to the Houston Rockets, after winning a championship, Hakeem Olajuwon gets salty?
Nah, I don't think so.
Right, you don't get salty when help comes to you. So for Joel Embiid, you're like, I'm not getting the same touches, I'm not getting the same looks. Yeah, you shouldn't. You should not be taking threes. I'll take the threes for you. You stay down low and dominate the game. Why are you getting mad at your touches should be less? Think about the Miami Heat when they won their championships. Chris Bosh is an all-time great player. And if he had better statistics, he probably would have been even rated a lot higher. But what really makes him great is the ability to say, you know what, I'm on a team with this guy and that guy. I don't need to score 20 points a night to be great. I don't need to do that. So for Joel Embiid to still be like, nah, man, I'm not getting my touches. I'm not getting as much touches. I'm not getting the ball to where I places I like. Well, first and foremost, stop shooting threes. And secondly, and the thing is, he has the ability to stretch the floor. I'm not saying don't shoot the ball.
But he takes them at way too high of a clip.
Come on.
Yeah.
Way too high. I don't blame Jimmy Butler for that.
In a season where a team was averaging 116 points per game.
Right. So to go back to the original point, Boston beats Philadelphia. Easily.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think they easily beat Toronto, though.
Yeah,
I don't think they easily beat Toronto. Because if LeBron did that to that team, and I know, granted, it was without Kyrie and without Gordon Hayward, you telling me you gotta ask Jason Tatum to go up against Kawhi Leonard?
Right.
You gotta ask 86% Gordon Hayward to go up against Kawhi Leonard on those different situational plays when Kyrie Irving has the ball. He's got to go up against Kawhi Leonard.
But here's what I'm saying to you, right? And this is in no way disrespect to Kawhi Leonard, who's arguably on his best nights the second best player on the planet. The gap between LeBron and everybody else is not comparable. So saying, well, LeBron dominated them like that, so Kawhi is not gonna. So LeBron dominated Boston like that. So Kawhi being in that same situation, he'll dominate Boston. No, he's not. It's not the same.
But if you said that any given night he's the second best.
But his second best is not like there's no player in the NBA who's capable of carrying an average team to the finals except for one player. So what I'm saying to you is I don't think Kawhi Leonard at his best can go out there and dominate Boston the way LeBron dominated Boston.
Yeah.
Right?
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. And time will also tell how the Los Angeles Lakers, we think about the Los Angeles Lakers progression this season.
I'm sorry I ever doubted them. I'm sorry I ever doubted LeBron's ability. This is what this man does. This is what he... Like, how could we ever sit back and say it's not going to work when he's on that team?
Right. I think one of the most ridiculous sound bites you heard in the summertime, this is why, honestly, no disrespect to the media or anything like that, but a lot of these guys who talk about basketball on television are paid just to talk about it. They're not really giving anything that makes sense. There were commentators at Endless saying they're not going to make the playoffs. They're like, LeBron's not... He doesn't have the supporting cast around him. But last season, with an average supporting cast, he went to the finals. The team he has now is better than that team. So what would make you think he's not going at least to the playoffs?
Yeah. And also they're motivated too. It's not like these were guys that have been sitting back in the NBA Finals for like 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
these are guys that have not even been to a playoff game.
Right. And in the situation with Lonzo's like, yo, LeBron's my favorite player. Why am I not motivated to play?
Yeah, you know, LeVar Ball was just was like literally invested in Lonzo Ball's NBA career when he came into the league. He's going to win a championship with LeBron James at some point. At least one championship.
It's possible.
And I can't see why not.
And I'm actually saying this time. I mean, they're going to be no higher than 4th, no worse than 8th. I mean, granted, LeBron James with that groin injury, I wish he was speedy recovery. So he could come back.
Yeah.
That groin injury.
You need the king back.
But even with that, they've proven they can hold their own against the Golden State Warriors by smoking them on Christmas Day.
Big win. Big win.
So I guess I'll segue to... Do you think we're seeing the end of the Warriors dynasty, or this is just a bump in the road?
I think this is a bump in the road. Because once DeMarcus Cousins comes back, they're going to get back into at least the top 2. Get rid of all these Western Conference teams and get back into the finals. I guarantee it.
And also, since all of the antics that has happened this season with them, with like losing back-to-back games, Draymond and KD getting into their kerfuffle, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, talent-wise, who's beating them in a 7-game series? In a 4-game series, excuse me.
Right.
Not 7 games.
They're not going 7
but 4-game series. Who's beating these guys?
So Denver.
As much
Did you see
as I would love the basketball guys
in the first few weeks of the season, Denver literally shut down the Warriors.
As much as I'd love the basketball guys to help us out there, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Jericho hit a tip-in against the Utah Jazz.
But that's the regular season, man. That's the regular season in like not February. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
true.
Yes, absolutely we should use it as an ability to assess where the teams are at in terms of getting an idea for how they play against one another. What are you talking about in April or May when it comes down to it against a back-to-back we lost that year before, but then we won the year before that? So I don't know, man. I don't think Golden State's gonna lose like that.
So to touch on the Denver topic, I think Denver's potential success against Golden State is all depending on how well DeMarcus Cousins assimilates into the offense. If he's able to just fit in naturally, which is not a guarantee, if he's able to just fit in naturally and doesn't cause any change in the way they run their offense, I think Golden State beats everybody very easily.
Oh yeah.
But that's a big if. DeMarcus Cousins has never shown an ability, nor has he ever really been asked to change his game and fit the flow of offense. Offenses have always ran through him. So there's no guarantee he's able to do that. Now, if there's any type of hiccup, if any type of discrepancy or trouble in their offensive flow, and that leaves that center position as their weakness, I think there's actually a chance for teams to beat them. And I think Denver potentially could be one of those teams. Because if DeMarcus Cousins, A, isn't healthy, or B, isn't acclimated to the offense, what is he going to do against Jokic? He's going to pick them apart. He will pick them apart. He'll either post up and find all these guys on the perimeter to shoot and cut or go mid-range or go long distance, or he himself is going to dominate. So the problem I see with Golden State, and it's the one issue I have in watching them, for years we've watched Steph dominate. That's one of the greatest shooters of all time. We've seen Clay dominate as one of the hottest shooters of all time. They bring KD, who in my opinion is the greatest shooter and probably the greatest scorer of all time. But we've always said the heart and soul of Golden State is Draymond Green.
Yeah.
He is the engine that keeps everything going because he's the only guy who can do everything at a level that's good enough to be an all-star. So he's a good enough passer, a good enough defender, a good enough shooter. He's not that good at any of those things anymore. His game has really deteriorated. Now, part of that is just wear and tear. Part of that is also he's been playing out of position for 5 years. He's a small forward playing power forward and center for the past 4 or 5 seasons. It's got to take a toll on him at some point. It's starting to take a toll on him now. He's not scoring like he used to. He's not defending like he used to. While he's still getting assists, it's not really the same way like he used to. He's not really orchestrating the offense like he did. If I'm a team, I'm noticing that. And also, mentally, he's kind of been out of it. You know, the other night he got a technical foul. He's always getting technical fouls.
Yeah.
Cursing to the reporters.
He's yelling at his to argue with his teammates.
Not good.
Yeah, so that's the one weakness I identify with your team. So if I'm another team, I'm going at Draymond Green. If, for instance, let's say San Antonio somehow makes it back into the playoffs, LaMarcus Aldridge should get the ball every single time.
Oh, he's gonna eat him up.
He should get the ball every single time.
What about DeMar DeRozan?
Well, no, here's the issue. Why I say LaMarcus Aldridge, I say that to say that Draymond Green is no longer the defender he is. So he is the glaring weakness in their roster. He's the guy I'm going to go after. And if they don't even have centers, I'm going to play big against them.
But you don't think this goes back to like sort of like the mentality that I would guess a LeBron would have? Like, yo, I've been in this situation for so long that once we get to when it matters the most, you still can't stop me? Because if I'm Golden State, that's how I see it.
Well, that's how I see the team playing. I don't think they're playing their best. I think they've learned to kind of pace themselves. They kind of learned that 73-win season meant nothing during the championship. So I don't think they're out here guns blazing. But I don't think what we're witnessing is them coasting the issue with Draymond. I think he has clearly lost a step. He's been injured. He's been disgruntled with his teammates. I think he's clearly lost something. And if he's lost anything, now's the time to attack.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of Draymond Green's injuries, I mean, the Warriors are still selling themselves as one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Especially we had these 3 players, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant, having 50-point games. Speaking of 50-point games, what do you guys think of the 50-point games we've seen this season?
There's no defense.
Is like saying.
Let's preface that by saying there's absolutely no defense in the NBA this year. Literally. And there's just no defense. So I expect more guys. I'm surprised somebody hasn't scored 80 so far.
I mean, is it no defense?
There's no,
or is it the fact that guys are just way more talented offensively?
So okay, if we're gonna be serious and not make jokes out of it, it's a combination of 3 different things. Number one, the NBA is more talent-rich than it's ever been.
Exactly.
There's way too many good players
Jamal
right
Murray
now.
put up like 40-something last night.
46. Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not even a superstar. And it's the second time he's done that.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of the fact that players are way better than they've ever been. Secondly, the new free offense, whatever they call that rule that you basically can't stop a guy from getting open. Thanks, NBA. That definitely has helped it. And then lastly, there's no defense.
The rebounding with the shot clock now limited to 14.
Yes, you guys shoot the ball faster, so I'm not defending it either. There's no defense. There's probably 3 two-way players in the entire league, and then maybe a handful of maybe 10 other guys who even play perimeter defense.
Kawhi, Paul George, and Jimmy Butler.
That's the only 3 two-way players in the NBA. Then you have guys who are good at defense. Jared Allen, Josh Richardson is no longer a defender. He used to be, but he's still a good defender. And there's like a handful of guys here and there. Outside of that, no one plays defense.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because when you don't play defense, you're not going to get that far, and you're obviously going to be like one of the bottom 5 worst teams in the NBA.
But not only that, what we're seeing this season is a lot of teams are losing games. You're like, how do you lose to those guys? It's like, oh, you just left them open all night.
So 15-point lead like Memphis and Boston last.
We're gonna have tons of games where guys blow big leads. We're gonna have tons of games where a higher ranked team's gonna lose to a clearly lesser talented team just because no one's defending. So there are gonna be nights where a guy's just gonna get hot. So D'Angelo Russell might go off for 33 one night because everybody left him open, or you have a situation like Orlando. Terrence Ross might go off for 25 points one night because we just left him open. We might blow a 15 or 16 point lead one night because we're not really playing defense.
There've been a lot of blown leads.
A lot of blown leads.
Yeah, a lot of blown leads, especially by the Brooklyn Nets, who blew like a lot of leads at one point and had an 8-game losing streak.
They're not far from the playoffs.
At least they're playing well.
Yeah.
I don't want them to make the playoffs, but at least they're
You
playing
don't
well.
want them to make the
playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you want them to make the playoffs?
Listen, I know what Carl's thinking.
Like,
I know what Carl's thinking. He's like, yo, blow the get the tank open, get it for Zion, RJ. Yeah, that's cool.
Win-win too.
Yeah,
we're good to go. Right, so don't be like Charlotte, where you're never good enough to get a high lottery pick, but you're never bad enough. Excuse me. Yeah, you're never good enough to get a high lottery pick, but you're like in between area. Detroit's the same way, where they're never really getting the number 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 pick. They're getting somewhere like 8, 9, 10, 13, the bottom lottery.
Memphis is like that too.
Right.
But in that case, they've been trading picks.
Yeah. And Memphis is still competitive. You just never want to be one of those stagnant teams where you can't get over the hump. Like, you have to actively pursue being a contender or actively press the reset button and start over. But to be in the middle in that murky area, you just kind of hold your franchise back for far too long.
Yeah, Brooklyn has been known for that, especially with that KG and Paul Pierce trade back in 2013. That literally ruined the franchise.
Still waiting.
As much as I like having Paul Pierce together on my team,
it lasted 1 year.
Especially when they made it to the second round that year. They won a playoff series that year.
Smoked by Miami.
Because Paul Pierce out there talking, let me guard LeBron. Why?
Because Paul Pierce has beat LeBron.
Gave 49.
Paul Pierce has guarded LeBron before in a playoff series.
And with the exception of maybe once or twice, he's never stopped him.
He smoked them every time.
Come on, man. He's far removed from that.
Yeah, but now we're talking to the Brooklyn Nets now. They brought back that Brooklyn Nets excitement that they've had in 2014.
Yeah, man, shout out to the Biggie jerseys. Spread love.
What do you think about the Biggie jerseys?
I think the Biggie jerseys are cool. I actually like everything the Nets are doing, to be very honest. I
Yeah.
think the moment they hired Sean Marks, he has just been this great executive front office guy for them. I think he's given the right guys opportunities. I actually want to shout him out for paying Spencer Dinwiddie, and then in turn shout out Spencer Dinwiddie for playing so well since he's gotten paid. Since he got that contract extension, he's been balling with the exception of the previous game, but they kind of threw that game in the bag. They didn't play some guys who played a couple minutes. But he's played really well since they gave him the money that he deserved and he worked hard to get. You know, what's funny, and this is how NBA teams work. You look at an NBA team and be like, man, that team is decent. They're really just missing said player, right? Spencer Dinwiddie was drafted by the Detroit Pistons, who desperately need a point guard.
Yo, isn't that so funny when you look back on these teams like
you know what else
that?
the Pistons need besides a point guard? A small forward. You know who they drafted? Chris Middleton.
But they
they don't play these guys, and then they get rid of them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, we're really missing a point. It's like Phoenix. Phoenix for everything. They need a point guard, right?
Is Devin Booker not good enough?
He's a 2. They had Isaiah Thomas. They had Drew Bledsoe. I'm sorry. Eric Bledsoe. They had Eric Bledsoe, and they had Goran Dragic. At the same time, now they have no point guard whatsoever.
Ouch.
These teams, like
Detroit had Greg Monroe. They traded him or let him walk, and now they went back and got Blake Griffin. And it was like
when
he gave him everything and the contract.
Blake Griffin is helping the Pistons be solid.
No disrespect to Blake. No disrespect to Blake.
That's a huge contract, man.
And also too, you wouldn't have had to make the trade if you just kept
Chris Paul.
You mean Chris Paul from Houston? I mean for Houston, but what I'm saying is for Detroit. If you just kept Greg Monroe, you wouldn't have to go and get Blake Griffin. I know that sounds ridiculous to say because Blake Griffin is better than Greg Monroe, but you still would have been able to build a team because now Blake Griffin is sucking all your cap up.
He is.
It's like 36.
So I'm gonna ask the question. I think we already know the answer. Like the worst contract in the NBA belongs to
not Blake Griffin.
What do you think?
John Wall.
What do you think?
I would have to say.
Prayers up for John Wall, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, healthy surgery, come back strong.
I hope you come back strong.
But you have the worst contract in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean,
really.
Man.
He's going to make 38.
It's hard to tell because there's been a lot of contracts being signed. Oh, Tim Hardaway Jr. That's another worst contract, actually. Because don't get me wrong, the guy is doing his best to make the team a competitive team.
He's not a good rapper.
With KP out for who knows how long, we know KP's not going to come back, and we know the Knicks are going to finish bottom 3 and take with Zion Williamson.
Yes.
Or one of the top 3 players on that Duke roster.
Yeah,
they really should, which is what I think. But Tim Hardaway Jr., they should have never given him so many years for that much money.
That's another
example. As much as I was happy that Tim Hardaway Jr. came back to the Knicks after 2 years with the Atlanta Hawks, big waste. What has he ever done for the Knicks when he came back?
I mean, he's got heart. He's just inefficient. He's just inefficient.
He's being featured like a 1, and he's probably a 3. He's not the best scorer or the best player in your team.
Yeah.
But he's having to shoot the ball like he really is. Unfortunately, I don't think his contract is ultimate. His contract is bad because he played for them before. They got rid of him, and if they had kept him, they could have signed him for less money.
Yeah.
So that's what makes his contract bad. The problem with John Wall's contract is he's making, next season 37, then 38, then 40, then 44. And he hasn't shown an ability to take you anywhere past the first round. He hasn't shown an ability to get along with his teammates. He hasn't added anything new. He's basically the same player he's always been from the day he got drafted. And you're paying him like he's one of the 5 or 6 best players on the planet.
He's living under
and you're not giving him a cast.
The Wizards are living under the shadow of the Warriors. Bradley Beal and John Wall, they're living under the shadow of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson. They shoot threes, they chuck up shots. They have that point guard, shooting guard chemistry.
But they don't have the chemistry, and that's the problem.
But they don't go that far.
But that's the problem, though. The difference between the Splash Brothers and them is that the Splash Brothers have the chemistry. Wall and Beal do not. I mean, this is one of those things. They can come forth and give you all the right answers in media. They don't play well together. They're not on the same page. When Wall goes out, Beal is this all-world player. He's amazing. He's actually
won last
underrated.
night too.
Yeah. He's really underrated.
Underrated.
They don't mesh. They don't mesh. And the problem that Washington faces is Wall has a 50% trade kicker in his contract. So when a team trades from his contract goes up even it's a bad contract, man.
And nobody wants Wall. It doesn't look like anybody was willing to.
Yeah, what market is there for him? Now he's injured again.
He's out for the season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Washington, you're better off tanking for at least a top 10 pick in the draft.
Absolutely.
You're not going nowhere.
They should honestly tank. if they're being honest, they should tank and maybe package that pick and Wall somewhere because they need a hard reset.
Oof.
They need a hard reset.
Top pick and Wall.
They need to. Here's the problem. It's like Miami. Not only are you stagnant, but you're so cap stricken. You can't move. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
They have guys with contracts that really have no market. They don't have any young talent that you need to play. Their best young player is Thomas Bryant. Bless his heart, he's playing really well, but what's the market for Thomas Bryant? And eventually you have to pay him too. Now, how can
they got Dwight on their roster? Yeah. That's a whole different podcast in itself to talk about what's going on with Dwight Howard. You gotta look that up on your own, but
literally, Washington, they ran out of gas.
Yeah, they ran out of gas and their windows closed.
And what's crazy, they're the most talent-rich team in their division.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Miami, they could still beat Miami.
They're better, I think, than Miami.
Yeah, they have all the talent in the world, and the division is crap, and they still can't put it together.
And what's really weird is if you were saying to yourself, I need to structure a basketball team, like a starting 5, right? You would say, I want a point guard who's big, athletic, and a willing passer.
Yep.
I want a 2 guard who's dynamic, can knock down an open shot, can get his open shot. Bradley Beal. You're like, I want a 3 who can defend, shoot, and finish. Otto Porter. You're like, I want a 4 who's tough, can rebound, is physical, and can stretch the floor. Markieff Morris. You're like, I want a 5 who can rebound. Should be Dwight Howard. They check off every single box, and they're an awful basketball team.
The organization. I think that's the only thing else you could look back to.
That's a lot.
Washington has been notoriously horrendous.
But I also think besides organization, I think it's the wrong cast of players. They just don't mesh. They just don't mesh.
Also, you see it on the team. Like I've seen games where they just they don't even know where to position themselves defensively.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no communication with anybody.
And team defense is 100% about communication.
Yeah.
Team defense is 100% communication. You're supposed to shout, call the screen, call the open man. Team defense is about communication, and you watch them play. It's not there.
Yeah, it really isn't. But let's just look at the playoff teams that are in the bottom 6 to 8 in both the Eastern and Western Conference. Well, the bottom, surprisingly, the Sacramento Kings are in the top 8.
Yeah, they're in the top 8.
And they had a big game against the Lakers after the Lakers beat the Warriors.
Epic buzzer beater.
Yeah, man.
Bogdanovich.
That's one of those
funny
games.
enough, the Kings, they put up great moments year after year after year. They cannot have a winning season.
They might this year. That game might be a defining moment for them to get in the playoffs, man. They needed that win.
I think they can make it, or at a minimum, they'll have a 500 season if they don't make it.
Yeah.
you've got to give credit to De'Aaron Fox.
Absolutely.
It's so often a guy gets drafted, and we talked about it earlier, that he has all the potential in the world, and we sit and wait for him to develop the skills to match the potential. You can clearly see that kid spent the whole summer working on his jump shot. He's shooting threes now at like 39, close to 40% clip. That he has game-changing speed.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally like you watch him play, and I'm not trying to bash John Wall, but you kind of wish John Wall had put that same time into his jump shot, because it's like you watch De'Aaron Fox play. He kind of assesses what's going on, and he says, all right, I can beat this guy off the dribble. I'm going to beat this guy off the dribble. Whether I'm going to the bathroom, finding somebody open, and again, Sacramento made a good deal in picking up Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's a knockdown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not.
Exactly.
He's open, he's money. Borjan Bogdanovic is the same thing too. So they could have done a good job of building their roster.
Shumpert's a great vet.
But can you only imagine if they had Luka Doncic on that team?
Damn, Luka Doncic.
Man.
You gotta transition to that because Luka Doncic has been balling out.
The real deal Holyfield,
yeah.
man.
And even ESPN calls him. He put LeBron James with Luka Doncic, La Doncic. That's how good this guy is.
He is.
Look at how he steamrolled the Pelicans last week. Look at what he's doing for them statistically. ESPN's talking about this kid like, oh my God, he's a franchise changer.
He is.
Dirk Nowitzki gave him the court.
That's a good point. He's a franchise changer, and that's why the Kings needed him. The Kings needed a franchise
And the Suns.
changer. The Suns are just
the worst.
Devin Booker is supposed to be the franchise changer for the Suns, but
so here's what gets me mad about the Suns and players like Devin Booker. What has Devin Booker done in the NBA?
70-point game against Boston.
And lost.
Did they win that game?
And a loss.
Performance is still memorable though.
No, it's not.
It's actually not.
It's actually not.
I'm going to have to agree.
It's not. Devin Booker is one of these players who's done absolutely nothing in the NBA. And just because a team doesn't want to actively go out there and find talent and potentially sign them, they just said, let's just give Devin Booker this money so he doesn't leave us. But what has Devin Booker done?
Nothing.
He's done nothing. Squad. He got his max contract. He's done nothing. I'm not saying that to say he won't be good. I'm saying that to say, what has he done?
And the Suns have had that one season where they've been a victim of game-winning shots every time.
That's because they play no defense. That's because they're bad. They're not good structured roster either.
They're a really bad team.
Yeah.
They're just a really...
And they made poor decisions. They didn't draft... Listen, these things that bite you in the rear. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they draft Josh Jackson instead of drafting De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah,
you gotta be kidding me.
Right?
Yeah.
No way.
Josh
Are you serious?
He has some talent. I mean, if you play him in NBA 2K, the guy could.
Jackson's in his first year or second year?
I think he's in his second year.
Josh Jackson?
Yeah.
Second year.
Second year.
Second year.
Same year as Fox.
So that's last year.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh my God.
That franchise is
And you gotta think to yourself, Fox and Booker in the same backcourt? Come on.
At least this year they're set with the center in DeAndre Ayton. What has that guy done?
I'm gonna ask you a question.
God.
Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton or Luka Doncic?
Luka Doncic, without
Luka
question.
without a fact,
Because what is DeAndre Ayton supposed to be doing? Everybody thought he was going to be Rookie of the Year.
I mean,
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He's overrated.
I don't know. He's overrated. I think they needed a big man because in the inverse, they could have had Doncic, but not have a big man, and the low post game would have been horrendous. So I think, to be fair, I'm glad that they picked him at least. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about who they should have picked over who,
right? But here's the thing: in the NBA, the way that it's structured right now, you can get by with a subpar or an average big man, and we've seen it. You can play a 3 at the 5 or a 4 at the 5 and kind of get away with that. You cannot have a below average point guard, or in their situation, no point guard at all. They don't have a point guard.
Yeah,
they're playing Isaiah Cannon and D'Anthony Melton at point guard. No disrespect to either of those guys as professionals. That's not the answer.
I don't know why they didn't want to go after John Wall.
And the funny thing is, the Phoenix Suns, even though they're bad, they picked up big wins against Milwaukee and the New York Knicks.
They pick up wins. Well, beating the Knicks. They pick up wins here and there for the same reason we were saying before. Guys don't play defense, so they're going to get games. But look how hard Devin Booker's had to work this season because he can't get an open shot.
And now he has to facilitate the offense.
Exactly.
Which is a waste of time. Why would you want the scorer? It's not like it's James Harden where he has a natural inclination for his team and his players to get there.
And it's not like you have Mike D'Antoni coaching a good system to facilitate that either.
And it's not like he's
Why do you think they got rid of Trevor Ariza and sent him to Washington? Because of the fact that the Suns are bad. Well, why did they even pick up Trevor Ariza? What was he going to do anyway?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that was all about.
What was he going to...
I think they're just trying to fill their cap.
That must be it. Because their cap is like...
It made no sense for them to get
bank.
another guy who plays 3-4. You already got. Why would you? This I don't understand with some of these teams. This is the number one sign of like a bad team. Why do you want to take minutes away from a younger guy by giving it to an older guy?
Especially
if you're trying to if you're trying to develop Josh Jackson, you're trying to give T.J. Warren a run. Why am I bringing in Trevor Ariza? You know what I mean? If you want to bring in a veteran leadership, you bring in veteran leadership at a different position, so it doesn't hinder the growth of that younger player.
We literally don't know.
Yeah, they make bad decisions.
And speaking of decisions, when we just transitioned to the bottom 5 worst teams in the NBA,
Right.
The Cavaliers, the Atlanta Hawks, the New York Knicks, the Chicago Bulls, and the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
Any one of those teams can win the draft lottery and draft Zion Williamson to change their franchise forever.
I really hope it's not Cleveland. They need to learn the lesson.
The NBA better not reward Cleveland again.
Why would they not Cleveland?
Rewarding Cleveland.
They lost Cleveland.
They don't
twice.
have a single number 1 draft pick that they drafted on their roster.
At least the
They
second
drafted
time.
LeBron, he's not there. They drafted Anthony Bennett, he's not there. They drafted Kyrie Irving, he's not there.
Wiggins,
he's not
But they
there.
did win a championship in 2016.
Listen,
They
that's-
did win a
that's-
championship
that's
in
an
2016.
anomaly.
Why did he win that championship?
LeBron.
All right.
Right.
That's all we need to hear.
And they can't win it shot by Kyrie Irving.
I don't even know why they have those earned jerseys. It should just be LeBron's face on it.
It's ridiculous.
Come on,
Honestly,
man.
so if we're talking about the bottom 5 teams, the team that I think would be the best fit for Zion Williamson is the Atlanta Hawks.
I was just about to say
Yeah,
that.
Atlanta Hawks would work.
Because think about
I mean,
this.
I'm not gonna joke.
Trae Young is a better point guard than people are giving him credit for. And you have John Collins who can play 4 or 5, and he's a really good player. He's probably one of the most underrated, under the radar players people don't talk about. You plug Zion in right there at the 4, and then you play Torian Green at the 3.
Oh, that's such a great team.
Yeah,
That's a good roster right there.
As much as I would like
I'd
to
fly to Atlanta to see
As
that.
much as I would
Exactly.
love to see him play on the New York Knicks, I think he would make a good fit for the Atlanta Hawks.
I think he's the
I
best
would
fit.
like to see Zion Williamson and Trae Young come together and create and bring back that playoff atmosphere that the Atlanta Hawks had before they went to tanking.
Right, and Atlanta's one of those cities, and one of those franchises, and one of those fan base. When they're good, they come out and they support, and that arena is rocking. You hear it. It's one of those teams you want to see them be successful because their fan base is so deserving of it. And I think him going there would be perfect for them. I question about Zion Williamson's fit with the Knicks, just because it's another kind of 3-4. Kevin Knox is kind of like that. Mario Arizona is kind of like that. You know,
Too forward heavy.
Yeah, it's kind of too forward heavy, but not as
Don't
diversity.
forget Alonzo Trier.
No, he's a 2. What I'm saying is he's still perimeter. What I'm saying is that it creates too much of a log jam where I'm not sure he really gets to develop. And with the Knicks not having a true point guard, he's really not going to develop. If he goes to Phoenix, I think his career is over. I'm talking about
Agreed.
Williamson, that is.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
If he goes to Cleveland, his career is over. We can all agree on that. I think Atlanta is definitely the best place he goes to.
Yeah,
I think for Barrett, Phoenix would be a good look for Barrett. The Knicks would be a good look for Barrett because they can play him at kind of like a 1-2. I don't know if I really want to do my 1, but yeah. But I think ultimately, to the point, Zion Williamson, Atlanta Hawks, best fit.
Yeah.
Best fit.
Now it's
Bring
all
back the
about-
highlight factory.
Yeah.
Facts.
Now it's all a matter of which one's going to finish with the worst record and actually win the draft lottery when June comes around.
Worst record goes to Cleveland. Who actually wins it? They're not going to
New
give it to
York will
Phoenix
win.
2 years in a row. New York is due for it.
Yeah.
The Knicks are
New
due.
York will win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so.
mean, let's just hope because, I mean, as much as I would like to see that combo in Atlanta, New York basketball needs to come back in the playoffs.
New York basketball. But it's coming back.
Yeah,
it is.
Technically, it is coming back because of the Brooklyn Nets.
But also,
fighting for a playoff spot.
right, the Nets playing better is good, but the Knicks are bad, but they're a healthy bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't have these terrible contracts. You know what I mean? They got some depth. They got young players. Their games are far more watchable than they were a couple of seasons ago.
Fizdale's a really great coach.
Really good. Shout out to Fizdale for, acknowledging the fact that young players need minutes to determine if a young player is really good. And he said it. If you go back and look through the archives, you see he mentioned Emmanuel Mudiay. He's like, yo, I'm going to give him minutes, and I'm going to give him the leeway to go out there and do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Within the flow of my offense.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give him the leeway, because when he played in Denver, they didn't really give him freedom to run the offense.
They kept him in the doghouse.
Well, they kept him in the doghouse because they had him at the starting point guard, and he wasn't really a starting point guard, but he wasn't given the ability to make decisions on the fly. It was kind of like, here's our offense, you run it. Point guards don't really thrive playing like that. So shout out to Fizdale for giving him a chance.
Facts.
Yeah.
New York needs that win, man.
Yeah, they really do. Okay, unfortunately, that is it with another episode of the But That People Talk to close out 2018. Unfortunately, we didn't really get too much of the Anthony Davis trade scenarios because of technical difficulties, but I'm sure we had a great time doing this podcast this year, 2018, and more will come. and 2019 hits.
Sure.
For all the big balls out there, he said it again.